Well, hello everyone. This is Dennis again from the Developer Advocates team at Amazon Web Services. We're back here at AWS on Air, talking of at AWS on Air. If you have any questions to the guests or to me during the show, please tweet at us at AWS on Air. I'm gonna have an eye on the Twitter chat. Also, if you're watching this on Twitch, please post your questions in the comments, and I will make sure to ask them to our guests. Speaking of our guests, I have Helen here and Torkel. Helen from AWS and Torkel Odegaard from Grafana Labs. Helen, why don't you introduce? That's too quick again. Helen, why don't you introduce yourself?
Awesome. Thanks, Dennis. Super excited to be here, and thank you guys for streaming in. I'm Helen Lin, product manager here at AWS. I've been here for a little over 4 years, and I'm currently working on, I guess, what we're talking about today, which is the new managed Grafana service. So,
Yeah, and that's why we have Torkel here. Torkel, what about you?
Yeah, my name is Torkel Odegaard. I'm one of the co-founders at Grafana Labs, and Grafana itself, the open source project, started as a hobby project of mine now, I think 7 years ago. And I've been working on Grafana kind of nonstop since then.
Yeah, it has evolved quite a bit. So today we're talking about the Amazon Managed Service for Grafana. You can find more information at aws.com/Grafana. I'm going to put that up later again today. But we're going to talk about Amazon Managed Service for Grafana and about Grafana itself. Helen, why don't you tell us what is the managed service?
yeah. As some of you guys, if you tune into Werner's keynote, what was it, I think on Tuesday, you probably heard him announce the new Amazon Managed Service for Grafana available in preview, right? This is basically a new service that we've developed very much in partnership with Torkel and his entire team, over at Grafana Labs. What the managed service for Grafana really enables our customers to do is they can very quickly and easily create, on-demand serverless Grafana workspaces that are highly available, scalable and secure. And it just really enables our customers to leverage Grafana, right, to monitor and alert across, different data types, whether it's their container metrics, their application logs, request traces, right, all sort of in one single place, right? And so really one of the benefits with the managed Grafana service is that we kind of wanted to remove the undifferentiated heavy lifting, as you guys have probably heard many times, right, of operationalizing Grafana for our customers, and sort of let them focus on using Grafana for what it does best, right? That's bringing multiple different data sources, whether it's Prometheus, Graphite, Influx, partner data sources, AWS services like, Amazon Managed Service for Prometheus and X-Ray and CloudWatch, right? Into a sort of very powerful, interactive visualization experience, and allows our customers to gain insight into the app performance and, troubleshoot issues collaboratively.
Mm-hmm. So, and speaking of Grafana, Torkel, why don't you talk a little bit about what is Grafana? What does it do? What is it good at? Why do our customers care?
Yeah, sure. Grafana is an open source project for data visualization and monitoring or observability, kind of gaining insight into your applications, infrastructure, or your business. It's very kind of open-ended in terms of what you actually use it for. It's really about kind of observing data in different forms and alerting and kind of traditional monitoring use case as well. But it's really open-ended and kind of domain agnostic in many ways. And one of the key things really is that kind of how it supports many data sources. So you can kind of combine really kind of traditional time series and observability focused data sources with more traditional SQL and other kind of SaaS cloud vendor data sources as well.
Yeah, I remember using it back in the day when I still did software development, not so long ago, actually. We had a team dashboard. We had it on a really big screen. We had a team dashboard with a Grafana dashboard with all kinds of data sources relating to our application, like the Kinesis stream, the number of 404 errors that customers had on our website and everything. So that was really great. It was really helpful. And now you've built this in partnership with AWS, or we have built the AWS Amazon Managed Service for Grafana together in partnership with Grafana Labs. Can you talk a little bit about how this partnership came about and how you work together?
Yeah, Sure. I mean, began kind of talking you expressing interest in building the service and having us involved, which was kind of really exciting for me personally to sort of think that Grafana would be kind of be given this level kind of exposure and status to have a Amazon kind of official service, but also to sort of have the company be involved in supporting and partnering together. So it benefits kind of both the open source project, the company, and AWS.
You speak of being on such a large basis, and I think the other way around, Grafana is pretty popular nowadays, and we're really lucky to have you on board.
Yeah,
I would say.
for
So
sure.
no, it's really great. Thank you for your partnership. It's really great to be able to do that together. And I think a great point is that it's actually Grafana that we are running in a managed environment. It's not some derivative. It is right. It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The same thing, the same Grafana that you would download if you got it directly, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So what do we take care of? What is the managed part, Helen?
Yeah. So, as we were developing this, very much in partnership with, Torkel and across both engineering and product, from both AWS and Grafana Labs, we wanted to make sure that, as with any AWS service, that we listen to our customers and kind of address their top pain points, right? So we sort of heard I think along three vectors over and over again. One is people love Grafana. It's super powerful, but they want to be able to add a little bit, more additional enterprise security features so that they can roll it out corporate wide. And so, with that, what that means to us is, we've added secure user authentication via an AWS single sign-on integration. It connects to multiple IDPs. So it basically enables our customers to leverage their existing user directories, be it Microsoft Active Directory, Azure AD, et cetera, right, as the authentication and authorization enforcement mechanism, right, for granting and controlling user access to the Grafana workspaces. Another one is, they want audit logging, right? So they want to be able to see who comes in and makes changes to the Grafana workspace. Sure. And so we've also, integrated with AWS CloudTrail for that. I think the second vector is, we talk about this, sort of removing the ops load for customers, a lot of times, right? So what that means is customers come in, they create these Grafana workspaces. We take care of sort of all the security patches, upgrading to the latest Grafana versions so that, customers can always take advantage of the latest Grafana releases, right, and the latest features. We also auto scale based off of usage demands, so if you've got, 10 users today and you've got, 1,000 users next month, we'll sort of auto scale the, compute and databases for that. And, last but not least, right, high availability, I think is always, top of mind for a lot of our enterprise customers, right? And so with every Grafana workspace you create, we deploy it across multiple availability zones so that you get HA.
Okay, so customers don't have to take care of their own clusters and run everything in multiple data centers. What do you think about, why don't you show us a little bit what the experience looks like in the console when you work with it on AWS?
Sounds like a plan. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. So, as with any other service, right, you come in here and you search for the Grafana service here. So if you type in Grafana, you search for it. So I come here, I've landed on the homepage for the service. And so I'm going to click on Create Workspace now. And I'm just going to give it a name, something like, dev environment, maybe optionally give it a description, something like, monitor. Let's make sure I spell that right, monitor my dev account. And, I'll click next. And what it's going to do is it's going to check to see whether I have AWS single sign-on, right? And again, that's just because this is how we grant users access to the Grafana workspace. And then the next thing I'm going to configure is how do I want to manage the permissions for this workspace to be able to access my AWS data sources, right? So for example,
just one question real quick, because you mentioned AWS single sign-on. Does that mean that people can use it that don't have their own AWS account?
That's exactly right. So if you don't have an AWS account, basically you can just use your corporate user login to be able to access the Grafana workspace without having to come in here and create an AWS account. Yep.
Yeah. And we have another question on the chat right now. Maybe that's Alpha 14. I have my existing AWS IAM policies. Does Grafana service integrate with that?
Yeah, so that's actually a great question and actually perfect segue. So it's pretty much on the spot. So for example, you can click customer manage, and this is where if you've got an existing IAM role with the policies to attach and access your data sources, you can definitely create that yourself and completely manage that yourself. And you click this. Basically, you would just provide your IAM role here. I don't
Cool.
have any in this account, so that's why
Yeah.
you're seeing that.
Yeah, great.
But let's say that you didn't want, you didn't want to do that. You don't want to go in and create a bunch of IAM roles and policies. You can actually offload that to the service and just click service managed. And what we'll do behind the scenes is go and create the right access policies and the IAM role for this workspace to access your AWS data sources. Now, on this next page here is I'm going to scope, sort of like how broad of an access that role has, right? So for example, if I wanted to sort of bring in multiple accounts into this particular workspace, this is where I can go in and add my organizational unit IDs here. And this will allow me to, be able to access, for example, if I've got, 5 or 10 or 100 accounts under that OU, I could do that here. But for simplicity's sake, let's just say that I'm interested in, monitoring stuff in my current account. So I'm just going to click current account. The next thing it's going to ask me is, well, what data sources do you want to access, right? So let's say that I want to access all of them because I want to be able to see, for example, my IoT data from SiteWise. I want to be able to monitor my trace data coming from X-Ray. I want to be able to monitor, my metrics and logs coming from CloudWatch, and also logs from Elasticsearch service. And then also, I want to be able to leverage and visualize and query my container metrics from the newly launched, Amazon managed service for Prometheus. And then also, potentially more additional IoT data that's being stored in Amazon TimeStream, right?
Yeah.
And then I can also select SNS, Amazon SNS, if I want to be able to send my Grafana alerts to SNS as a destination. Go to the next page, and basically this is just a review page. And let's say I'm happy with everything, so I click Create Workspace. And now what that's going to do is it's going to go and provision sort of the compute and the backend databases required to stand up this particular Grafana workspace.
Yeah. How long does it take?
Yep, just a couple minutes,
Okay.
usually 2 to 3 minutes. And what you can see here is actually, let me just show you one that's already created. For example, about this morning, a couple days ago, I created this workspace. So you can see here, it basically generated a URL. So I can just pass on this URL, to the users in my company so that they don't have to log in through AWS Console in order to access the Grafana workspace. They can just access it directly through the URL, with their SSO credentials. And then down here, this is also where I manage user access. So for example, I've only granted myself, access to this workspace. But let's say that I want to, maybe also invite a couple of other people from my company. Let's say that I want to, I want David and Amaya to also be a part of my workspace, so we can sort of all troubleshoot and visualize our metric and log and trace data together. So now, as you can see there, very quickly I've added them, and boom, right, all 3 of those folks now, if they click on this URL, this Grafana workspace, they'll be able to log in. And let me show you what that looks like. All right. So since I've already authenticated, it's just using my credentials. I don't have to relog in. Now, what I want to show you here real quick is, once you come into the Grafana workspace, there's a couple things you want to do, right? One is you want to be able to centralize and add your AWS, your data sources into this particular Grafana workspace. They could be, AWS sources, or they could be a whole host of, open source and, partner data sources, right? You got Prometheus, Graphite, Influx, a lot of different options here. But let's say that I wanted to add, for example, CloudWatch as a data source into my workspace. Now I could do this the traditional way, where I come in here and I click data sources and I click add. And let's say that I search for CloudWatch, right? I could go in here and sort of manually add in my credentials. Or let's say that I've got hundreds of accounts and I don't want to sort of do this one by one. There's an easier way that customers can actually do that, where they click on CloudWatch. And because this is just my current account, you don't see the other accounts. But let's say that I had added, organization unit ID, you would see all the accounts here. And basically, let's say that I just want to add my current account right now. So I select the region I want to make my default, click add data source, and boom, right there, it goes in and adds my CloudWatch account as a data source.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So you see, it just sort of, auto-filled things for me. And the great thing about Grafana is that it also comes with a bunch of default dashboards.
Mm-hmm.
So if I click on Amazon EC2, you'll be able to see, my data now, right? So very minimal setup there to be able to start, visualizing my AWS data.
That's really nice. Tokol, maybe you can show us a little bit about. I mean, this is some AWS EC2 data, but I'm sure you have an example of what these graphs, what these dashboards can look like in a really large production environment. Let me just pull up your screen real quick, and this looks exciting to me. Maybe you can talk about this a little bit.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is mainly also to get kind of a gist of what Grafana really is about, where it all started. Kind of Grafana started as a dashboarding tool, as a data visualization tool, sort of mainly focused on that kind of initial use case of application and infrastructure monitoring, and to kind of highlight some of those kind of why Grafana became such a popular tool is really about sort of powerful, vibrant, sort of and sort of beautiful dashboards and capable graphs and sort of
it
flexible.
actually is beautiful. It looks beautiful.
and by giving the user a lot of power and sort of flexibility in designing graphs with kind of multiple y-axes and display options, but at the same time, kind of having a good focus on usability as well, and guiding the user and having query builders, so you don't have to sort of know a complex query language all the time, because for a lot of the data sources there's query UI. So for example, if I were to add a new panel here, I can jump into the panel edit mode. In this case, it's an Elasticsearch query builder, but I can switch to, for example, the CloudWatch, and every data source has its own unique query UI that helps you build and find the data that is in that particular data source, and also kind of allows you to expose transformations and different kind of query capabilities of that data source. So let's just pick a metric here, and we should see a graph, and you can have all these kind of different display kind of panel types, visualization types in Grafana. There's also a huge plugin library, but yeah, you can see some different visualization here. I like this gauge, especially if we switch it to this LCD mode and put on a gradient.
It looks like this EC2 instance runs idle all the time. it's a little oversized. You can save a lot of money by taking a smaller one.
Yeah, but yeah, so that's kind of the process here is really a lot of kind of giving you a lot of options, but also having a UI that helps you through all those options. And I can scroll down here to give you a highlight of the core table panel that is also really feature rich in terms of allowing you to customize all the kind of the cell display modes, so you can have different kind of colored cells, all controlled by thresholds that sort of we have this kind of config system that allows you to set kind of display options like units, thresholds, min and max that are consistent across many of the core panels. But yeah, so that's kind of the core here, and the key thing here is also really about how you can combine different data sources on the same dashboard, and even on the same graph you can combine different data sources.
So you can pull in all kinds of data sources, all kinds of dimensions, and visualize them in a way that's meaningful for your specific use case, for the specific operational data or application log data and so forth that I can pull up.
That's so it's an example of kind of combining different data sources. Is this dashboard that is really highlighting some of the enterprise data sources. That is kind of the non-open source version of Grafana is Grafana Enterprise, and it comes with a bunch of additional enterprise data sources. So in this dashboard, it really kind of highlights how you can combine these to show pricing report here from Snowflake. We have incidents from ServiceNow. We have RSS feed. That's not an enterprise data source, but just an interesting thing to have, like some news, internal news maybe. And we have application performance data from New Relic. We have container data from Datadog, and we have logs from Splunk here.
Okay.
So yeah, that's kind of a good mixture of different data sources.
Yeah, and is the enterprise version of Grafana available through AWS through Amazon Managed Services for Grafana as well?
Yes, it's something that is part of the partnership that you can upgrade to Grafana Enterprise on AWS.
Okay, and that's through the AWS Marketplace, right? Yeah. So okay, cool. Sounds good. We're pretty much out of time. It's exciting. There's so much to talk about. We only had about half an hour. Anyway, thank you so much, Torkel and Helen. And to everyone, just real quick, I'll put it up again here. If you want to know more about Amazon Managed Service for Grafana, please go to aws.amazon.com/Grafana. It is in preview. Everybody can try it out. You can work with it. A few more questions that are interesting for our customers. It is in preview, so it is available right now. Where is it available? In which regions?
Yep. So it's available in 2 regions, in Ireland and also in North Virginia.
Okay. And what's the pricing structure?
Yeah, it's a great question. So it's based off of per active users per month. So basically in Grafana, you sort of have 2 different user types. One, which is like the, read, write, powerful editor and administrator that can go in and change things. The other one is the viewer, where you just come in and you're really only having view access to, the dashboards that you've been granted permissions for. The cool thing about sort of, how we priced this is, one, it's very easily transferable between, the Amazon Managed Service for Grafana to be able to upgrade to Grafana Enterprise because the dimensions are the same. The other one is, let's say that you got, 1,000, users in your Active Directory, you grant all of them access. That doesn't mean you're going to get billed for 1,000 users, right? It's only the ones that actually, log in and actively use the Grafana Workspace that month. Okay, so let's say that, yep.
Yeah, you only pay what you actually use and
exactly.
not yeah. We have one more question in the chat by Pintu. Thanks for the question. Can we use Loki in here?
Yes. Loki, yes. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, definitely. So what I didn't have a chance to demo there, but yeah, there's a whole logs exploration view as well, where you can jump between logs, metrics, and traces, and there you can use Loki, and you can use Elasticsearch for logs and CloudWatch logs and many kind of log data sources.
That's
yeah.
great.
Yeah, and I just want to close off by saying that I think that's really what's really great about Grafana is that it gives teams the flexibility to sort of collect and instrument using whatever tools they're familiar with, but then use Grafana to sort of centralize all that so everybody can collaborate in a single space. So
yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
All right, I think we're done. This has been an exciting reInvent. 3 weeks of reInvent. Everybody was able to watch from their home, from their living room. It's different. It was different this year than it was the last few years. Actually, I never got around to go to Las Vegas. Helen, you have been a couple of times as far as I know. But was there anything interesting this year? Any announcements, apart from your own, of course? Any announcements that you really liked?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, there was so many. I think, during Andy's keynote, he talked about DevOps Guru, which is sort of like tightly integrating machine learning, with ops monitoring. I think, there was also the Amazon Managed Service for Prometheus that also was recently announced, very tightly used with Grafana, right, for container monitoring.
Yeah.
Also got the AWS distro for open telemetry, instrument once, sent to multiple destinations. And then I think the other thing that was really, interesting to me is CloudWatch always comes out with, a lot of different sessions. They always have really great content. So like, for example, they had one that talked about, integrating synthetics into, operational monitoring and leveraging CloudWatch for cost optimization as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's been a lot of work. As I said before, we did a lot under the hood this year, I think. Not so many fireworks announcements, but some really great things under the hood. Okay, thank you so much, Helen, for being on the show. Torkel, thank you to you. And you're in my time zone. I think it's pretty late for you. It's almost 11 p.m. So it's about time we wrap it up. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Please stay tuned. There will be more shows today. I will be on later today again talking about AWS Systems Manager, Application Manager. And there are many other shows today. Hope you have a great reInvent. Take care. See you later. Goodbye.
Bye, everybody.